going to show you how to make a beautiful Indian vegetarian curry, and I'm going to be using paneer as the main protein in this. Now, paneer is an Indian cottage cheese. You can see that it's quite firm and it can really handle high heat and sauces. It also absorbs all of these beautiful spices that we're going to be adding to the curry. So I like to start with some ghee, and ghee is essentially some butter that's been clarified. I'm going to add a generous spoonful, so about a tablespoon, into a large pan. Now, I'm making a big batch of this because it does also freeze really well. So once that starts to melt, I'm going to add my paneer. Now, what I've done is just cut them into 3 centimetre chunks. You can cut them a little smaller if you like, but I really want this to be meaty. I've also pat them dry so they don't spit when we place them into that hot ghee. So they can go in first, and I just want to give them a little colour on each side. So nice hot pan, and then in that goes. Fantastic. Now, while that's frying off, let's get on to our spices. This is my little spice market here. All of these spices you probably have in your pantry, so it's a really great way of using them up in a delicious curry. So this is a little trick a friend has showed me. I placed a little water in here, and we're essentially going to make a spice paste to add to the curry later on. So we'll start with some paprika. We'll add a few spoonfuls of that in, along with some ground cumin, 1 tablespoon, some ground coriander, about a tablespoon or so, maybe a little more, and some turmeric. So the turmeric, we want a little less of that. And I'm going to give that a little stir. Just use the back of your spoon and combine everything together. So that's our spice paste ready to go. All right, let's have a look at the paneer. I'm going to turn them over, and you can see that they fry up really quickly. So once we turn it, we can pretty much take it out because the other side will be cooked. I'm pretty happy with the colour we've got here. So let's get some paper towel and we'll just place the paneer on the towel. Fantastic. We can now add our onions. Now, lots of onions for this recipe. I've just sliced them. And you want to cook them down, so give them some time to cook. I'm saying 5 to 8 minutes. We want them to be soft, slightly caramelised, but really we want to cook them out and get them mixed in with that lovely ghee. That's why it's really important to use a big pan or wok. I'm going to add some garlic, so a few cloves of garlic. I'll also chop up the ginger and finely chop the green chilli. This can also go in with the onions, and they're going to cook for that 5 to 8 minutes. All right, these have cooked down nicely. You can see that they're soft, slightly caramelised, but not overcooked. That's how I want them, so they become really sweet. Now in with our spice paste. Another reason I add that water is almost to protect our ground spices so they don't burn as they start to toast in the pan. So we'll just now give that a mix, combine it with the onions, the chilli, garlic and the ginger there, and let that toast off just for a few minutes before we start adding the other ingredients. Essentially, you want it to become quite fragrant. Now, while that's happening, let's get our rice on to serve this with. I'm going to be using some basmati rice, and I've washed my rice 3 times. 3 to 4 times is what we're after, just to get rid of the starch so it's not too gluggy, so it's light and fluffy. So this goes into a pot. I've got 1 cup of basmati rice. We'll scrape that out. And then for this basmati rice, I like to add 1.5 cups of cold water. So it just covers it, and we'll turn the heat on. Now I'm going to be using the absorption method. So this is going to come up to the boil. We'll turn it down to a medium heat or medium to low. Lid goes on and it will cook until all of that water has been absorbed by the rice. This smells fantastic now. So we can add some sugar, just some brown sugar. Again, mixing that through to coat all the onions and just separate those onions. And now we need some liquid for our curry. Instead of using water or something else, I'm going to be adding yoghurt. So you'll need 1 cup of Greek-style yoghurt, and I'll just spoon that in. And we want to bring this up to a simmer, so just stir that through. I love how all those spices stain the yoghurt. Fantastic. Now there's some little bubbles, we can add our last spice, which is the garam masala. And this is a spice you want to leave to the end because you want to leave the freshness in it. So we're just going to sprinkle a little of that in. And the spinach, which is a main ingredient in this curry. It looks like a lot of spinach, but it's going to cook down and really thicken up this sauce. I love English spinach more than baby spinach because there's so much flavour. So we're going to add this, fold it through until it starts to wilt, and then I'll return the paneer. We'll pop the lid on, and you just want to cook this not long at all. Give it another 5 to 10 minutes or until the rice is cooked. Curry's cooked, our rice is ready, so let's plate this up. I just want you to have a look how beautiful this is. It smells fantastic. The sauce is thick and rich. I love how it's stained the paneer. It's just right. I've also seasoned that generously with some salt. It needs salt so we can really taste those spices. And our beautiful basmati rice. This is why I like the absorption method. See how fluffy it is? And you just get your spoon and just separate those grains. Gorgeous. Okay, let's plate this up. A few spoonfuls into our bowl. And we'll grab our curry and make sure we get a mixture of the spinach and the paneer over the top. A lot of that sauce there. The onions too. You can see we're quite generous with all of the ingredients in this. A little of that sauce. And my favourite's the paneer, so one more big piece on top. Let it sit there so we know what it is. And to finish this off, a little sprinkle of extra chilli, and I need a hit of acidity, so I always like to add, if you have, a little wedge of lime on the side. And I've always got many different chutneys, everything from mint chutney to lime chutney, mango chutney in the fridge. All of them go really nicely with this. Pop that on the side. That's a beautiful vegetarian curry. A lot of the spices you probably already have in your pantry. And this is not one of those curries that takes hours to cook. You start it, get the rice on. By the time the rice is cooked, the curry's cooked.